Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today in this webinar entitled Autonomous Threats, Preparing Storage and Backup for the AI Era, a very relevant topic. AI is changing how we operate storage and backup systems. It's also changing how attacks are built and launched. And we're starting to see systems that can reason, adapt, and act on their own, something that Anthropic's Mythos made very tangible. And that same shift applies to the threat landscape. Attackers are increasingly using AI to move faster, adapt in real time, and go straight after storage and backup systems, what we tend to refer to as the last line of defense. And today we're going to talk about what that means for security and infrastructure teams, why storage and backup systems have become such high-value targets in this AI era, and what practical steps you can take now to stay resilient as threats become more autonomous. And today we're joined by two experts, Amy Cool, the cyber resilience expert and field CTO at Dell Technologies, and Yaniv Valik, VP of Product Management at Core6, running the Storage Guard product division. I want to encourage each of you to please use the Q&A panel to ask questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So please ask your questions throughout, and we will get to them throughout the webinar. And if we do run out of time, hopefully at the end. Okay, with that in mind, let's start with the agenda. So we're going to start, like I mentioned before, why storage and backups are targeted. We'll move on and talk about how AI is reshaping the world of cybersecurity, what this means for us as defenders, and then move on and talk about what is Dell doing in this space, what's their approach when it comes to AI cyber resilience, and talk about what Core6 is doing with regards to Storage Guard in terms of AI-powered security posture management. And then we're going to wrap it all up and summarize the key advice and key best practices and tips. Yaniv,
All
over
right.
to you.
Thank you, Doron. Great to be here today. Before we dive in, we'd like to do a quick poll. Doron, can you pull it up?
Yep,
So we
just done
have,
it now.
great. So we have two questions here. The first one is about how often does your organization assess and resolve security misconfigurations for storage and backup systems? And the second question is about how often does your organization resolve vulnerabilities and apply patches for your storage and backup systems? So take a moment to vote. Just want to benchmark reality.
We'll give everyone 30 seconds just to make sure everyone answers both questions. Okay, I can see the answers coming in. Let's wait 5 more seconds, and then what we'll do is we'll end the poll and present the results so everyone can see it. All right. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see the results. So 28% said daily when it comes to assessing storage and backup systems for security misconfigurations. 39% said semi-annually or annually. And then 17% said monthly or quarterly. And when it comes to resolving vulnerabilities and applying patches, 42% said similar result. 42% said semi-annually or annually, followed by 32% monthly or quarterly. Yaniv and Amy, does that come as a surprise to both of you, or were you expecting something like that?
Well, I can say that's what I expected. And if you answered quarterly or annually, then you're not alone. And during the next few slides, we'll talk about why the cadence actually matters and becoming more dangerous. Is that what you see as well, Amy?
Yeah, I'd say that we'd expect to see like a split today. And hopefully in today's session, we can bring awareness as to the importance of observability, monitoring your systems. And we're going to touch on a few of those discussion points today.
Great. So with that, I want to kick things off by looking at a real attack. And this example comes from the 2026 Checkpoint report. And what's interesting here isn't just that it was ransomware, it's what happened after the attackers got in. They moved through the environment very deliberately until they reached a backup appliance. And that's when they executed destructive commands. You know, maybe Checkpoint lists a whole set of failure points in this incident, access, admin behavior, monitoring gaps, and others. When you look at this from your side, does anything stand out as missing?
Yeah, so we see this multiple times within the business that I'm in. And I mean, you can see here they basically gained access via credential theft. Then they're able to log into the system, downloaded, executed the malware, got access into the main backup jump servers. Once they logged into them, they were able to tamper with the backups. So most likely deleted them if they were able to. And there is also data exfiltration as well, where they have exported data, most likely sensitive data from the environment. So the challenge there is for them, if their backups have been deleted, how do they recover the data and start to bring the business back online?
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I think also some of the things that may have been missing here is isolating the backup control plane that would have assisted with preventing this particular incident.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail throughout the session around the importance of having segregation within the network, all of the layers of defense that we consider now within this world that we live in when it comes to isolating, immutability, hardening your environments to ensure that they are safeguarded from the threats that are coming in and evolving rapidly.
Indeed. So overall, we see attackers go after storage and backup because they understand when those systems are reached, impact is immediate, impact is irreversible. And now this gets even more dangerous. Groups like Jasper Sleet are using AI for hiring frauds, long con social engineering, and insider access. And once they are in, storage and backup systems are prime targets. And this pattern isn't really new. What is changing is the speed. AI is now used across almost every stage, recon, targeting, lateral movement, and especially in discovering where storage, backup, and recovery systems live. Attackers move faster, they make fewer mistakes, and they reach the system that matter most sooner. And you can really see the shift most clearly when you look at time to compromise and time to exploit. The 0-day clock shows that the median time to exploit vulnerabilities is crossing into hours in 2026, with many CVEs exploited on or before disclosure. In parallel, Rapid7 and SANS both state that the patch window has collapsed from weeks into days and into hours. Time to compromise is shrinking dramatically, while defenders are still operating on human and quarterly or even annually timelines. Now, this is where things really break. AI doesn't just speed up attacks, it also changes vulnerability discovery. Mythos and Project Glasswing showed how quickly AI can uncover large numbers of high severity weaknesses. These kinds of AI capabilities won't stay exclusive to one vendor or one initiative. The same AI that helps defenders is also helping attackers. What used to take months or years now happens in days and sometimes hours. And all of this is happening while the backlog of unpatched issues just keeps growing and it will continue to grow at an even higher pace. So overall, we have more vulnerabilities discovered, more weaknesses exploited, faster path from access to impact, smarter lateral movement toward critical systems, and fewer signals for defenders. That really forces a change in the operating model. And next, we'll cover what defenders must do differently. So here's what really changes for defenders. First, the control plane protection matters more than the perimeter. Your perimeter will be breached. The question is what happens after. Second, misconfigurations can be as dangerous as vulnerabilities and often are easier to exploit. Third, we have to treat backup, storage, Active Directory, and virtualization as tier 0. These are now primary target. And fourth, AI removes the old knowledge gaps. Complexity doesn't slow down attackers anymore. The bottom line, posture must be continuous and not occasional. And this is the reality the defenders are currently running into. Patching cannot keep up with the growth in vulnerabilities, not just due to volume, but also due to disruption and change control. In storage and backup environments, many high-impact breaches exploit weak configurations long before 0 days or unpatched flaws. When patching isn't fast enough, hardening and secure configuration are what stands between attackers and exploitation. Should we find and fix more vulnerabilities faster? Absolutely. But in parallel, we must maintain continuously hardened configuration to keep the storage and the backup environment secure. Let's dive into what defenders actually need to do differently. So first of all, course organization need to identify weaknesses much faster and to do it automatically. Second, we need to assess storage and backup systems as if they are on the perimeter. Remember, control plane is the new perimeter. Third, we need to remediate quickly and shrink the time to exploit. And fourth, we need to make hardening, configuration baseline, and security advisory validation continuous instead of periodic. Now, this is really the paradigm shift. Annual assessments followed by months-long of remediation are no longer sustainable. Not when attacker timelines are so compressed and when the ability to find and exploit weaknesses has grown so dramatically. Organization that stays slow will be compromised. That's why the only future-proof path is automated, continuous hardening, and moving toward autonomous security for data infrastructure. And we recommend currently focusing on the following 3 items. The first one is having hardened configuration that aligns with your target baseline as well as with security best practices and is being continuously and automatically verified and corrected when it drifts. For the other 2 items, I'll turn it over to Amy. Amy, please. Oh, I see that maybe there's an issue with the microphone. So I'll cover the 2 items and we'll get back to Amy in the next slide. So the second item that we are recommending to focus on is having backup systems that are truly isolated and immutable, both in terms of the control plane and the backup themselves. And the third item that we are recommending to focus on is early detection of abnormal behavior in the systems that attack your target, whether it's storage or backup systems or other critical systems. Detecting abnormal behavior, anomalous behavior can help you understand when you're being attacked and, of course, act accordingly. It's
Sorry
about making,
about that.
no problem, no problem. It's about making sure that systems that determine recoverability are always hardened, always isolated, and always watched. So Amy, while you reconnected, I covered isolation and immutability and detection of anomalous behavior. If you want to add anything to that, of course, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And apologies, everybody. That just goes to show a live webinar, the technical faults we can have. So at Dell Technologies, it's not just about backups to us. It's a lot bigger than just backups. And when we talk about cyber resilience, it's more than protection alone. So yes, isolation and immutability are essential, but the real goal for us is proven recovery, that you can recover the business critical services. And we want to mitigate risks before they materialize, not after. And how do we do that? Through continuous monitoring and early detection of abnormal behavior. So we're looking at the entire environment with a 360 view, and we need to understand that we're always hardened, always isolated, and most importantly, always watching what's going on.
Amy, can you hear us?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we're switching gears and we're going to talk about what Dell has to offer for AI cyber resiliency, and then we'll cover storage guard. So Amy, please, if you can cover the Dell solution for AI resiliency, we'll take it from there.
Yes, absolutely. Have I just come back online now? My audio? Is that
Yes,
correct?
we hear
Okay.
you well.
Okay. Apologies, everybody. That's what happens with a live webinar. I've had some technical issues. So what I was saying in the background was at Dell Technologies, it's not just about backups. To us, it's a lot bigger than backups. So going back to the previous slide, when we talk about cyber resilience, it's more than protection alone. So yes, isolation and mutability are essential, but the real goal for us is proven recovery, and being able to verify that you can recover those business critical services. We want to mitigate risks before they materialize and not after. And how do we do that? Like we've already discussed, continuous monitoring, early detection of abnormal behavior. And for us, the focus is always around always hardened, always isolated, and of course, always watching. And we want to have that 360 observability of the environment. Now, at Dell Technologies, we ingrain cybersecurity and cyber resiliency into everything we do. And that's from client devices through compute and networking, and all the way up to our storage portfolio and data protection. So that means that security isn't an add-on or a single product. It's embedded across the entire stack, from the endpoint to the core and to the cloud. And when we talk about AI cyber resiliency, Dell's approach is no different. So when you start to look at AI security, it's very, very similar to other security. We focus around multiple layers. So we're looking at multiple layers. We need to ensure that the data is secure, the model is secure, the infrastructure, the application layer, and of course, operations as well.
Great. Thank you, Amy. And
going back to the cyber attack that was mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, we discovered that the backups were infiltrated, and protection, like I've already said, isn't enough from that perspective. So we need to ensure that we have isolation, segregation from the production network, and we have that last line of defense if needed. So what you can see on the screen is a architecture diagram, very high level, of our cyber recovery offering at Dell Technologies. Some of you may be familiar with this architecture on the slide. So I'll just go into it in a little bit more detail. We have got a 3-copy solution here. It could be a 2-copy, it depends on the customer requirements. And you can see that we are taking a primary backup to our secure storage appliance, and there's a DR copy as well for disaster recovery purposes. Then we sync a copy across an interface, which is a physical segregated copy, and that air gap is automated. Now, why the Cyber Recovery Vault? What are the benefits of Dell's Cyber Recovery Vault, and why is it different to the competition? Our Cyber Recovery Vault is not on the attack surface, which is really, really key. So going back to the story at the beginning around the compromisation, because the Cyber Recovery Vault is not on the attack surface, that means that it is not vulnerable to credential theft. It is the industry's smallest attack surface, so there's no direct access into the vault from production. Management and the control plane are all within the vault. So we manage everything from within that cyber recovery solution, or some may call it the isolated recovery environment. It's the same concept. And then what we do is we actively monitor. Okay, we're actively monitoring the environment, and that's with multiple different tools, XDR, EDR, and of course we lay a storage guard on top for a security posture management across production DR and the cyber recovery vault as well. Now for us, having Dell and storage guard together, what does the customer get out of this? So the business outcomes for the customer, they can protect critical data and services within a secured, trusted environment. It gives them predicted recovery time objective and cost of recovery, minimize business impact and downtime, and also satisfy regulation and governing boards.
Great. Thank you, Amy, for walking us through the diagram, and certainly isolating the control plane and the backups together is the way to go. And I want to expand a bit on Storage Guard and explain what is Storage Guard about. So Storage Guard is a security posture management software solution purpose-built for storage and backup infrastructure. It covers both Dell and non-Dell solutions. Storage Guard continuously identifies and helps remediate security misconfigurations, exposures, compliance issues, and helps you start your journey toward autonomous hardening. Storage Guard is focused on the security posture for storage and backup infrastructure, analyzing system and security configurations, storage and backup operating systems, and their control planes. And it is complementary to other tools that examine files and folders. Remember, to truly secure your data, you must protect both the data itself and the infrastructure that stores it and protects it. And customers are using Storage Guard for 4 primary use cases. The first one, they use Storage Guard to continuously validate that their storage and backup systems are hardened and configured according to security guidelines. Second, Storage Guard is used to establish and enforce target configuration baselines and automatically identifying drift. Third, you can use StorageGuard to prepare for an audit and prove compliance across frameworks like NIST, CIS, DORA, FFIEC, and many others. And finally, StorageGuard can be used to understand exposure and identify systems that are impacted by vulnerability advisories and missing patches. The common thread is simple: continuous posture management. And we're now launching a new and exciting capability, the StorageGuard MCP. The StorageGuard MCP acts as a secure bridge between AI tools and StorageGuard. It allows users to use natural language to explore storage and backup configurations or misconfigurations, hardening opportunities, weaknesses and exposures in the environment, and compliance issues. You can do all that through your AI application, whether it's Claude or Copilot, or use our built-in AI assistant. The StorageGuard MCP connects to your organizational LLM. Now, it's important to mention that the StorageGuard AI integration is deliberately guardrail. The AI never gets direct system access, it never sees credentials, and it operates strictly within enforced scope and role. All interactions go through an offline MCP server with full logging and auditing. And most importantly, your data only goes to your LLM endpoint under your AI governance. Let's review now a few examples of how you could use the StorageGuard MCP and the AI assistant. And first, here is an example of how the AI assistant can be used to investigate backup security. Here, the user is simply asked to learn about backup immutability and isolation issues, and the assistant returns findings related to misconfigured retention lock settings, backup not being isolated from the primary Active Directory, and the lack of secure time synchronization. Let's move on to another example. And in this one, we can see how we can explore vulnerabilities, whether it's by asking about particular Dell advisory and whether we are affected or not, or by listing IBM systems that are affected by high severity vulnerability advisories. Here's another one where we explore how well systems are configured with access lists for the control plane of storage and backup systems. And we can see that there is some room for improvement and for further restricting access on our vast storage, on PowerScale, and other systems as well. And in the following example, the user is inquiring about compliance with a specific CIS control 8.9 that is related to centralized logging. The AI assistant provides a high-level compliance summary, including the percentage and the counts, and then provides a detailed overview of the systems and whether they pass or fail this specific control. And we can see how well Cohesity, PowerScale, PowerProtect are configured, and Everpure are configured for this particular CIS control. Now, let's watch this quick video that shows us how we can review a particular finding and initiate a remediation workflow. Now, this issue is about account lockout setting, not configured according to our target baseline. We just opened the AI assistant. We ask it to explain a particular risk, the risk of account lockout threshold or the Dell PowerProtect DD. And what the AI assistant is going to do is going to provide us with an explanation of what is the impact of this particular configuration, what could happen if we don't change it. We can see the details of the risk, including description, impact, the configured value, the target value. We can see the evidence and the suggested remediation. And we also have the fix-it option. We just trigger the fix-it option, and this is going to start the remediation workflow. We're now being asked to provide the target value. There's the recommendation to set it to 3 or 5. By the AI assistant, we choose 3. And now we're going to select the credentials that we will use to run the remediation. And we're selecting the DDoS credentials under CyberArk. We're now seeing the command that is going to be executed to remediate the issue. We need to confirm again. And once we confirm, StorageGuard begins the actual remediation action. StorageGuard is now connecting to CyberArk, retrieving the credentials, connecting to data domain, running the remediation commands, and validating that it has been remediated successfully. If you don't use CyberArk, you can use HashiCorp, you can use other privileged access management solution. So you have other options as well.
So
And
just wanted to ask you a question there. So
sure.
say, for example, if I had a PowerProtect data domain in my infrastructure, does StorageGuard, is that able to map the platform configuration to policies that you have derived from certain regulations and frameworks?
Absolutely. StorageGuard is doing that out of the box for every standard or framework that we support. We map the configuration checks to the specific requirements, whether it's NIST, CIS control, DORA, FFIC, NERC, and many, many others. And with every risk and with every check that is performed by StorageGuard, you can actually see these mappings. You can see positive reporting, negative reporting, and generate compliance reports with evidence quite easily.
And they're built-in risk knowledge bases that are built into StorageGuard, and then you can align those policies against the asset that you're onboarding into StorageGuard.
Absolutely. You can do it globally. You can do it in a granular fashion based on sites, based on technologies, based on specific systems that may require tighter control. So you have the ability to select exactly what configurations and what policies you want to apply to which of the systems that you have.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sure. So just concluding the video, as you can see, the remediation has been completed successfully, Fix-It has succeeded, and account lockout is now set to 3, which is the target value and also the recommended value. So now the chance for a brute force attack on our data domain has been reduced. All right, let's move on to the final example here, which is a bit different. In this example, we connected Claude and the StorageGuard MCP, and we asked Claude to analyze NTP configuration consistency across storage and backup systems. The output identifies misalignments in NTP server configuration in the NTP service state. Generally speaking, through the MCP integration, you can easily use StorageGuard to investigate configurations of data at rest encryption, control plane encryption, LDAP group mapping, administrative access configurations, protocols and services, remote support settings, and many other configurations.
Yeah, so there is a question there in the chat, which I think you've just answered. So Francis is asking, can you speak to how StorageGuard can assist with preventing credential theft?
So part of what StorageGuard is doing is looking at configurations that relate to authentication and to authorization. So for example, many organizations seek to validate that they don't use local users on storage systems. And sometimes on backup systems, it's actually the other way. They want to make sure they only use local users and don't connect the backup system to the central Active Directory system. So we help validate those configurations. You can choose to check whether you have unauthorized local users. You can choose to check whether you're connected to Active Directory on the systems that need to be connected or not connected on systems that need to be isolated. You can check whether you have CyberArk integration in place. You can check whether you have correct settings for changing passwords over time. So we look at all those different settings that control accounts and password management and make sure that they are set in a hardened way according to standards, according to hardening guidelines, and according to the organization standards.
And I guess then if anything steps outside of those policies that you've implemented, that would be alerted within StorageGuard.
Absolutely. And one more thing that is important to mention for preventing credential theft is, of course, encrypting the control plane, which is another thing that we look into. Have you encrypted access to the web UI? Are you using unencrypted protocols, whether it's SNMP or Telnet? Are you encrypting other communications between system components? We're inspecting all those settings and many, many more. And of course, if you want to learn more about the knowledge base and the types of checks that we do, by all means, reach out and we're happy to expand. All right. So let's bring this all together. As we can see, AI is fundamentally changing the rules of the game. More weaknesses are being exploited. Lateral movement is faster and much more reliable. The control plane is the new perimeter. And on this perimeter, storage and backup systems are prime targets. Periodic configuration assessments and long patching cycle will not cut it anymore. The only way forward is continuous posture management and, over time, a move toward autonomous security for storage and backup infrastructure. Amy, would you like to add your closing remarks?
Yeah, sure. I would just say that with AI now being thrown into the mix, we're seeing an increased volume, sophistication when it comes to cyber attacks, and of course, automation as well. So they're going to be able to deliver the attacks a lot faster. With that in mind, looking at the regulatory landscape as it continues to evolve, it's not going to stay static for the next 5 years. And with AI, it is going to bring a lot of change. And I would say that staying proactive isn't optional, like it's essential. When it comes to how StorageGuard can help organizations, this piece of software can ensure that your systems remain secure and compliant against those certain regulations, legislations, and frameworks that you need to adhere to. So for me, it would be stay sharp, stay skeptical, and stay secure.
Thank you, Amy. Doron, over to you.
Wonderful. So that's a great session, Yaniv and Amy. Thank you so much. There are a couple of resources I encourage everyone to check out. We will add it to the chat panel. There's a DIY self-assessment. It takes 2 or 3 minutes to assess how secure and hardened your storage, backup, and data protection environment is. Other than that, please get in touch with your Dell or Core6 account rep to find out more about some of the new AI capabilities that we've kind of alluded to today. I will say one more thing. There is a question from Bob. I'll open it up to Yaniv. And Bob had the following question. He had a question about the fix it option, the auto remediation capability. Are there any plans to schedule a fix and or ability to access other tools such as Snow for things like change control or Jira or story update or closure via MCP or agents?
Sure. So the good news is that StorageGuard already has integration plugins for both Jira and ServiceNow. And yes, we are planning to also add the ability to create scheduled fix-it sessions and to coordinate them through chain control. That is definitely a capability that we are planning to add.
Wonderful. Okay, good. Amy and Yaniv, thank you so much. And thank you all for attending this webinar. There have been a number of questions regarding the recording. Yes, the recording will be available in a couple of days, so either end of this week or the latest beginning of next week. So we'll send that to everyone who has registered. And otherwise, get in touch with us. We're looking forward to hearing any feedback or any questions you have. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.